Hello everyone. Today we see about the topic crop rotation in organic farming. In this video, my presentation sketch about basic concepts of crop rotation, why rotate crops are used, expert farmers design, crop rotation and farm management, types of cropping, types of crop rotation, benefits of crop rotation, and disadvantages of crop rotation. Finally come to the conclusion. Next we see about the basic concepts of crop rotation. Crop rotation is the practice of rotating crops or sequentially planting different crops on the same plot of land. This rotation improves soil health, optimizes soil nutrients, and compacts pests and weeds. Farmers seek to plant consecutive crops that complement each other. Crop rotation indicates to the cultivation of diverse crops on a specific piece of land over time. The progression of crops to be grown is carefully designed to guarantee soil supplements are sustained. Pest populations are controlled, weeds are smoothed, and soil well-being is built. For example, a farmer may choose to plant beans after planting corn because the beans will return nitrogen to the soil that the corn uses up. Rotations can involve as little as 2 to 3 crops and as many as over a dozen. A crop rotation will cycle through cash crops such as vegetables, cover crops, crosses and cereals, and green manures, regularly vegetables. The precise arrangement of crops will shift depending on local circumstances, with a critical plan element being an understanding of what each crop contributes and takes from the soil. For occurrence, nitrogen training crops ought to be preceded by a nitrogen fixing crop. So this is the first concept they explained, that beans after planting corn. So the central idea is to have the crops themselves sustain soil well-being instead of planting the same crop year in, year out, and after then repairing soil health through compost, pesticides and herbicides. The premises of crop rotation is the idea that different plants have different nutrients they require and are vulnerable to different pathogens and pests. Planting the same crop in the same area year after year, the same nutrients are being used up in the soil. Pests and diseases that thrive off that single crop can make a permanent comb because the preferred food is available all the time. Planting the same crop increases the need to use fertilizers and pesticides to keep yields high. Next we see about why rotate crops are used. Effective crop rotations are a foundation of organic cropping systems. Organic farmers recognize that crop rotation is necessary to maintain field productivity. Expert farmers design the rotations to earn income, increase soil quality, or build soil capital. Rotations are one dimension of art and science of farm management. The biological principles of crop rotation intersect with many other aspects of the farm operation and farm business. Expert farmers balance. Crop rotation is both the principle of production and a tool of management. Expert farmers balance market options and field biology, labor, equipment, the layout of these beds and fields, along with other logistics of planting and harvest, all influence how rotations are designed and executed. Expert farmers rotations include key cash crops, filler or break crops, and cover crops. In every season, farmers must manage production across multiple fields and beds. Variation in the acreage of each crop, variation in field characteristics, and shifting business decisions result in multiple rotations or crop sequences on most organic farms. Next we see about Crop rotation and farm management. Crop rotations require multi-dimensional thinking. Rotation management requires understanding both the whole farm and each individual field and balancing field and farm scale decisions. On successful farms, rotation planning is a rolling and multi-layer that are short and long-term decisions. Their understanding of biological principles sets the boundaries of their management practices. Many expert farmers push and test the expert farmers plan and implement rotations on an annual, seasonal, last minute opportunity basis. Their annual plans are based on clear priorities. Each year, the paramount challenge is to grow adequate quantities of profitable crops to keep the farm viable. At the same time, farmers are designing the rotational sequences on each field. They must consider how to rotate equipment and labor efficiently across the entire farm operation. Expert farmers also adapt to the weather conditions of specific years, often by changing their crop mix and consequently the rotations. Most farmers have a few key cash crops that generate significant income. Year by year, expert farmers focus on planting the key crops in the most suitable fields for those crops without compromising the soil health and long-term productivity of those fields. Generally, these crop-to-field matches are first made based on market and logistical consideration. Then, expert farmers review whether there are biological reasons to go in a different direction. They cross-check what not to do biologically with both their experience and their knowledge. Farmers take special care to manage the production and soil capital of their best fields, relying on the knowledge of the fields and the crops they grow and some general principles. For example, avoid planting related crops in the same field year after year. Expert farmers determine the crop for each field each year. So that's all about the crop rotation and the farm management. Next we see about the types of cropping. There are four types of monocropping, crop rotation, sequential cropping and mixed intercropping. First we see about monocropping. Monocropping is when the field is utilized to develop only one crop season after season. So one season they have to plant only one crop. Next season they have to plant another one crop. So in the field only one crop is planted. Example, planting wheat year after year within the same field. So in the field they have to plant only wheat every season. Next is the crop rotation. So crop rotation already we know implies that changing the type of crops grown within the field each season or each year or changing from crops to the follow. So here this is the example that here one crop is planted, then here one, then here. So first year here one for example maybe a crop, then they have to for example here it is a corn, then they have to next year they planted here it is a beans. Then this corn will be shifted to this plot. Then next year corn will be shifted to this plot, this beans will be shifted here. So in this way they have to rotately the crops will be shifted from one plot to the another plot. So this is the crop rotation. So already we know why the crop rotations are used, because the nitrogen deficient in the soil will be replenished by the other crops. So there is no need for adding biofertilizers, fertilizers and compost. So next is the sequential cropping. Sequential cropping involves growing two or more crops within the same field, one after the other within the same year. In few places, the rainy season is long enough to develop two crops, either two main crops or one main crop followed by a couple crop. So here we have to use one plant, it's a main crop, another one is the sometimes in intermediate they have to plant cover crops. Example, planting maize with the long downpours, then beans amid the short downpours. So long term they have to plant maize, short term they have to plant in between beans. So this is sequential cropping. So at the same time they have to plant another one crop. Next is the mixed intercropping. So distribution of seeds of both the crops are tippling the seeds without any row arrangement. So here we all added or arrangement of rows, but in mixed intercropping there is no need of arrangement. This process is called the mixed intercropping. That is distribution of seeds of both the crops are tippling the seeds without any row arrangement. This process is called mixed cropping, mixed intercropping, planting the most crop in rows and after that spreading the seeds of intercrop, such as cover crop should be spreaded in not in a row ways. They have to spread it. Main crop will be in rows, other intercrops are in a zigzag manner. So this is about the types of cropping. Next we see about types of crop rotation in vegetables. Types of crop rotations are three types: 1 year rotation, 2 years rotation, and 3 year rotations. Example, in 1 year rotation, we have to choose maize, mustard; in 1 year, next year rice, wheat. In 2 years rotation, maize, mustard, sugarcane, fenugreek, and next maize, potato, sugarcane, and bees. In 3 years rotations, they might use rice, corn, rice, soya bean, groundnut, or corn, sugarcane. This may be also they have to plant. So this is the different types of crop rotation. Next we see about types of crop rotation in vegetable garden. In vegetable garden, crop rotation may only involve other vegetable plants thrown to be harvested as usual, but can also include cover crops and green manures. Cover crops are grown to minimize soil erosion and nutrient losses when not harvesting crops are grown. Cover crops include edible crops such as beans, beans, and other legumes, which can be harvested and can also be used as a green manure. Green manuring is the incorporation of fresh and green plants into the soil to add green organic matter. Next is about the benefits of crop rotation. A well-outlined crop rotation makes land both more beneficial and more ecologically maintainable. It improves the monetary responsibility of a farm by increasing efficiency while decreasing chemical input cost. The key benefits of crop rotations are the improved soil fertility, disease control, weed control, erosion control, increased biodiversity, increases yields. Next we see about one by one. First one is improved soil fertility. Crop rotation improves the physical and chemical conditions of soil and thus improves the overall fertility. Nitrogen fixing vegetables such as soya beans and alfalfa in crop rotation settle climatic nitrogen into the soil through root nodules. This nitrogen is then accessible for subsequent crops. The nutrient requirements of each type of plant are unique. Throwing out the same type of plant repeatedly will eventually lead to nutrient deficiency, which can make the plants more susceptible to the pests and diseases. This problem can be solved through crop rotation by growing different types of plants that throw up different combination of nutrients, allowing time for the nutrients that were used to be replenished, resulting in continuous nutrition cycle. Cycling. Next is the disease control. Crop rotation helps to control common root and stem illness that affect row crops. Crop revolution is exceedingly viable against maladies whose pathogens have a small post range and require soil or crop residue to overwinter. For such infections, downing a non-post crop incentive after a post crop anticipates the pathogen from reproducing. Next is the weed control. Weed management becomes easier when you practice crop rotations. Plants the spots that completely cover the crown. Alternating between these types of plants can prevent weeds from establishing, making weed control easier. Including cover crops into the crop rotation systems gives greater competition to the weeds for their essential needs such as supplements, space, and light. Cover crops eventually swan out of the weeds, abating down weed development and expansion for a diminished weed population in a subsequent crops. Next is the erosion control. The crop rotation helps, helps control the disintegration of soil from water and wind by progressing the soil structure and decreasing the amount of soil that is exposed to water and wind. Crop rotation to supports reduced or no till cultivating when current is indeed better protection against erosion. Next is the increased biodiversity. Crop rotation helps progress soil's biodiversity by changing crop residue and rooting patterns. Distinctive crops advantage diverse species and so a range of crops will lead to a more different and healthy soil microbial community. Additionally, the microbial community is packed by rotating crops with a high carbon to nitrogen proportion such as corn with a low carbon to nitrogen ratio crops such as soya beans. Increased yield. Crop rotation increases yields as a result of improved soil fertility, reduced levels of soil erosion together with better pest disease and weed control. Next is the importance of crop rotation. Crop rotation is the important strategy for managing some diseases, weeds and insect pests of vegetable crops. Rotating crops also provides nutritional benefits to the plants and maintains soil health. Plants in the same plant family should be treated as a single rotational crop. Crop rotation involves planting a sequence of different kind of crops in a location over a number of seasons. Rotating crops helps maintain or improve soil health and maintain or increase productivity of the farm over time. To get the most benefit from rotation, growers should schedule sequential plantings based on rotational crops of plants belonging to the same plant family. Vegetables belonging to the same family can be considered as a rotational group because they are susceptible to many of the same diseases and insect pests, share similar nutrient requirements and are treated with the similar pesticides. That's all about the importance of crop rotation. Next we see about disadvantages of crop rotation. First one, additional equipment. Rotating crops can require additional equipment, particularly to a crop, peanuts. For instance, utilize a diverse investing machine than to corn and soya beans. And diverse planters may be required to plant grains like wheat or oats than are utilized for corn, beans or peanuts. Next is the market locations. The market location can moreover be a hindrance to rotating within certain crops. Not each local has granaries, cotton gins, seed nut processors and areas to sell corn, soya beans or other crops after harvest. Third one, give low budgetary returns during certain times. You cannot put your most valuable crops on your greatest fields each year, so you will not benefit as much amid periods when you are growing a distinctly short of product that has a lower market value. Fourth one, it requires more knowledge and skill. Agriculturists will need to contribute more time and assets in learning and mastering this agrarian practice. So that's all about the disadvantages. Next we come to the conclusion of crop rotation. Crop rotation reduced in popularity in developed nations in 1950s in a part of discovery that monoculture fields could produce high yields with application of fertilizers, pesticides and weed killers. Modern time large-scale commercial agriculture has an increasing reliance on prescribed chemical treatments. However, the effect on human health and soil fertility has caused many farmers going back to the crop rotation, the natural way, although chemicals are still being used. A growing consumer demand for organic goods has farmers avoiding chemicals altogether and instead relying entirely on crop rotations to maintain production. Cost-wise, crop rotation is easy to implement because there is no need to buy any technology, and by rotating crops, fields are less dependent on chemicals for high yields, which brings down the overall cost. Unfortunately, there is a little understanding of crop rotation. This is due to the lack of global data set for crop rotation. However, it is known that crops grown in rotation have a 10% higher yield than monocultures and 25% higher during drought season. Agriculture practices to increase crop yields, crop rotations, reduce fertilizers, high income. That's all about the conclusion. These are the references I used for preparing this module.